Welcome to Hacking Music. I'm your host, John Pashada. The goal of this podcast is to break off a piece of the hacking music training we use and train artists in every day to master the best of what other headliner artists have already figured out so that you can unlock your potential. Additionally, we interview world-class artists and entrepreneurs, doers and thinkers so that you can better analyze your problems, seize your opportunities, and master your decision-making and execution. Every episode is packed with training, lessons, and force multipliers that never expire. And if you're listening to this, you're missing out. If you'd like members-only training and exclusive content, you can join at hacking-music.com. Check out the show notes for a link. This episode is brought to you by the Sync Center, trusted by Fortune 50 companies, filmmakers, ad executives, and major film studios. The Sync Center is a full-service music supervision and licensing company that has managed projects for hundreds of clients, including national and global brands, agencies, and cultural events. Chris Stone is here today. Chris runs Dealcasters Live. Prior to that, Chris ran Sony label sales in the Southeast for over 20 years. I wanted to catch up with him because it's been a minute. Not only has it been 15 years since we last talked, but I'm interested in what he's doing now on the front end of e-commerce live selling. We talked about a brand new piece of Amazon real estate called the Influencer Dashboard and how artists approach sales, commonly getting it exactly wrong by avoiding this important piece of a healthy artist's career, and how artists can start to take advantage of Amazon's new Influencer Dashboard. Hey, everybody. Really excited about this conversation. We've got Chris Stone with us today. Chris and I grew up in the 90s playing in bands together. We each kind of worked for Sony for a number of years. Chris is what I would consider an expert in kind of live stream selling. There's probably a better word for that.
Online, no, that sounds good. That works. It'll change. Yeah. Don't blink. It'll change next week. They'll call it something else.
Right. So today we're going to talk about artists selling experiences, full stop. That's what we do as artists, whether it's silver discs, merchandise, tickets, live stream, we sell experiences. And we're going to talk about how to do that without selling out. Chris, welcome to the podcast. I'm super glad you're here.
Man, I'm stoked to be able to hang out with you and sort of sharpen the irons, and at least we get to hang out. We've tried to connect for years, and this podcast gives us an excuse to hang out and catch up. And certainly, I'm excited to share what I know. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I know enough to be dangerous about live selling, whether it's on Amazon. But I'm just stoked to be able to share this with your community, sir.
Yeah. This is going to be great. So something we like to do, Chris, is always ask, what is the world we're living in? We don't want to live in a previous decade and make that mistake of trying to live in the 90s or the 80s. It's 2022, right? We're living in the future. So I thought it'd be helpful just to kind of set the context and set the table for the conversation. I kind of see that there's two things we need to talk about. The first is just the e-commerce opportunities are massive in 2022. Just looking at these Shopify stats, Shopify sellers have generated $444 billion last year, which is more than Amazon, Apple, Volkswagen, and BP combined. So it's the opportunities there. Amazon Marketplace, which we're going to talk about, YouTube evergreen content. We're living in the future as far as e-commerce and selling. And at the same time, artists are still kind of magical unicorns. They want to write their songs and not have to be talking about sales or merchandise or any of that. So those are kind of the two axes, I think are interesting to kind of put in this conversation before we jump in. Is that a fair kind of jumping off point?
Absolutely. I think a lot of, sort of the gaps that we see in really any brand, any sort of content creator, whether you're a musician and a songwriter, or if you're creating video or audio or graphics or anything like that, you have your brand and it feels uncomfortable, the word sales, right? The word sell. And if you don't look at live video and selling, especially on a platform like Amazon, as the home shopping network or QVC, but just another extension of what you are currently, to be able to bolt on your existing brand to that, you actually can make some money while you sleep, which I know a lot of people are interested in, especially since that money while you slept years ago has been dwindling and dwindling and dwindling as things head into the future for music.
Yeah, 100%. And we both kind of, our paths in Nashville, early 90s, and we both kind of went to work for Sony. Myself as a writer, producer at Tree, and then you, it's the label side of it. So I wonder, Chris, can you kind of rewind and just kind of think about what's changed for you in since you were at Sony and now that you're on your own, doing your own thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, I've worked, I worked at Sony for 27 years.
Jeez.
And so, yeah. And so, I've worked on the distribution side. So, essentially, before digital was a gleam in Clive Davis's eye, I was traveling to record stores and selling the shiny plastic discs, like you had mentioned, as well as cassettes, and promoting albums that were released on our owned labels, and eventually worked my way up in that, got a management position, moved to Atlanta, and managed the entire Southeast as well as the eastern half of the U.S., but saw digital as something that was coming, and was very interested in, sort of finding out what all of this stuff was when mp3.com was a thing, and then eventually Napster was a thing. I remember, here's a story for, if I may, I remember walking into my EVP's office with my, huge compact laptop that the company gave me to use. And I opened it up and I had Napster running, and I was downloading the entire Dave Matthews Band catalog on it.
Right.
And so now I'm probably going to get some sort of legal letter from Dave Matthews Band. No, I won't. But I was showing him this, and I said, this is coming. This is happening on college campuses. This is and he was more upset at me for using company-owned product to put something illegal. And of course, the whole conversation of, oh, well, people want to read liner notes and people want to handle the product. And I said, kids that are doing this, they don't care about any of that stuff. And so put me on every task force that I possibly can be on. And then I jumped from one sinking ship in the physical product for Sony onto another sinking ship, which was the mobile business, ringtones. People would pay $2.49 for a 30-second clip of music, if you can believe that, because smartphones at the time, that's all they could do. And so then eventually moved my way into streaming and became sort of the conduit for Sony and companies like Spotify, etc. But why I left Sony was, obviously the attrition in the music business, especially at the label end, really the bottom fell out. But I still was, employed by Sony, based here in Atlanta, the only employee based here in Atlanta, and they're wanting me to move to New York. But John, my number one focus is to be the best father and husband that I could be. Moving my family to New York at the time just was not in the cards. So I knew at some point they were going to pull that chair out from underneath me, and I was happy to start my own business, which is Cast Ahead, where I work with podcasters and live streamers who don't want to know how to make a show; they just want a show, and so I do that for them.
Love it. So you've seen a lot of change.
Oh yeah,
from the early onset of digital to Amazon taking over the world here. And one of the things I thought would be interesting to talk about is the big myth that's out there is this idea that nobody buys product anymore. And for us, we don't think of, product in the 90s term. It's more about experiences. Fans buy experiences, and some of those are silver discs. Some of those are merchandise bundles. Some are live stream, face-to-face stuff. It's really the Disney model. Think about Frozen. How many different ways could we possibly experience Frozen? It's hundreds, thousands even. So what have you seen happen? What are some of the things you're seeing that our artists and entrepreneurs can really start to wrap their head around, as far as kind of defanging this idea that nobody buys product and we just need to compete for free streams? What's happening in your world?
Yeah, it's interesting because I experienced all of all of the stuff that happened at the label end, and everyone had attached themselves to this shiny piece of plastic,
Mm-hmm.
and had gotten fat, quite frankly, on it, and it really could not, sort of back to the conversation with the laptop in my EVP's office, could not move that Titanic quickly enough. But those that were deft enough to move quickly and more nimbly were the smaller people, the ones that said, I can do this because I'm not some massive corporation. I can take some ownership in this, and I can try things, and I can develop new things around it. And I look at it from the standpoint of, we hear the term Wild West for sure. And but you have every opportunity to do virtually anything you want to do with your art.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw what was happening for live selling, and you could see it years ago in Asia, and they call them not influencers. I actually like this term better than influencers, and we'll talk about the that sort of the semantics on that is they say key opinion leaders. And so what was happening over there is people like you and I, John, would go live and talk about a hairbrush, and they would be done, and they would have hundreds of thousands of viewers and products sold for just showing up and talking about something that they like. And they didn't even really have a massive following.
Mm-hmm.
They were just in the center of where people are buying things, and they weren't trying to be something else. They were being themselves, and they just happened to talk to people about something they like. And
so it's almost like experiential real-time selling. That's not a marketing word, but it's like, that's, I'm having this drink. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you about it, kind of thing. If you're into this drink, there's a link below, kind of thing. Right.
And it's as much about location as it is what you're doing. And so, a lot of YouTube is an example. I mean, obviously YouTube, massive. There are 58 million YouTube channels. And a lot of people that are listening and watching here probably have a YouTube channel, and they probably have uploaded videos, and they're probably frustrated by the views. And then they can't figure it out. And eventually it's just one of those things that sort of sits on their mind shelf, and hopefully they'll get to it, and hopefully somebody will start watching, and hopefully maybe you get a viral thing. And I heard somebody said something about shorts and all of those things, but it's an ocean, right? And then there's a bunch of people that will, you can pay money to do this, that, or the other. Whereas on these live selling platforms like Amazon, we believe that there is less than 3,000. That's 3,000 influencers on the Amazon platform. So the pool is shallow in terms of, so you imagine, John, you remember when YouTube first came out, and it was a thing, and people were like, oh, you got to get on YouTube, and you get on it and you're like, why am I watching this hot garbage? It's like, here's somebody filming their fishbowl, or how do I blend an iPhone, or whatever. And you're just, but back then we wished we had started a YouTube channel, because that was a way that, now people have millions of followers just because they started and created content, got used to it, put in the reps and all of that. Whereas on Amazon, you're in the middle of the mall. When you go to YouTube, you want to learn something for free. You want to maybe get information, be entertained, which is fine. But if you go live on Amazon and continue to do the same things that you're already doing, you just happen to have products that you sell. You're not Home Shopping Network. You're not QVC. You're actually just like, this is my music, and this is the microphone that I'm using. And let's
talk about that for a second, Chris, because you're down that road quite a bit. We just started on that road, but let's define it for our viewers who may not know what the heck we're talking about. We're not talking about Amazon like we know it. This is the influencer channel. Is that what it's called? Or
That's right. Yeah. So many people already have what's called an Amazon Associates account, which is basically like it's your affiliate. So like
okay.
when you want to tell somebody about something that's available on Amazon, you get a link. And that link, if someone chooses to buy that thing, you'll get a little commission if they do buy it at no cost to the consumer. So, right now I'm speaking into a Shure MV7 microphone. If I were to take a clip of this and then I would say, hey, my mic is a Shure MV7, here's the link for it. Or if somebody were to say, hey, I like that mic, I like how you sound or whatever.
Right.
You could actually send them a link and you'll get anywhere from 3 to 8% of a commission on a particular piece of product, depending on the type of product. So that's your associates thing. Now, the Amazon influencer program, like you're talking about, is a different thing where once you have your associates, which many people already do, you can then submit and be approved for the Amazon influencer program, which is based on your like a social media following, YouTube, TikTok.
And that happens on Amazon proper. That's not happening on YouTube. That's not on Facebook. That's like the videos, the streaming is happening on Amazon.
That's correct. So yeah, once you get approved, you're able to go live on Amazon. And then when you do, the products that you're talking about, your live stream it shows up on the product page. So right now, if we were live and I have this Shure MV7 again, on the Shure MV7 product page would be this particular live stream. And so as people are shopping, all of a sudden they go, boom, this looks like a cool show. This person's playing this, that, or the other. Click on it. They're going to go to your live stream. They're going to see the products. There's a chat. You can interact with people, answer their questions, entertain them, and really do some creative things on the platform, which is what we saw as a real opportunity for us.
Yeah, that's huge. And you said there's only 3,000 influencers.
We believe there's less than that. Amazon does not publish that, but and then go 80-20 rule, right? 20% of those people are the ones that are really leaning into it.
Right.
And so that smells like that smells like opportunity. Here's the other thing, John, is that if someone here is watching or listening to this and they say, well, I don't know if I can create like a great show or whatever. Trust me, there's a lot of people that get approved as an Amazon influencer, maybe because they have 2,000 Instagram followers, which is not that many, but they've never gone live. They actually aren't very good at doing live streams. So there's a lot of live streams, even those that are the 20% that are focusing on it. They're not even very good at it. They don't understand how to do things. And so they're not very successful, even though they have these massive followings on other platforms. So it's a real opportunity for someone that even knows a little bit as far as how to live stream, how to sound good, how to look fairly decent, and it makes some money while you sleep.
Right. That's interesting, Chris. So that's day one, early days of, this is like YouTube 15 years ago.
Absolutely. But a platform that's different from YouTube as far as the mindset of someone that goes there, because everyone, it's the number one search engine for products. So if someone, and I keep on going back to microphones, so I'll try to switch. Well, someone's searching for a guitar. Right. And it could be just a Strat. Of course, the Fender site's going to come up, right? But Amazon's going to be up there, likely the first spot, because it's the number one search engine for products. So somebody's going to go, oh, wow, I can buy a Strat on Amazon. And most people, they think, well, I'm a Prime member. I can do this, whatever. Amazon's cutting into businesses like Sweetwater and others that do, a considerable amount of business for instruments. And so you're all of a sudden you're like, boom, people are searching for that product, and you have another opportunity to get found first if you're talking about those particular products. So from a search engine optimization or SEO perspective, getting found as an artist or a creator, it just exponentially goes up. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about like the artist DNA. Like artists, we talked about the kind of aversion to selling. You've worked with artists, you still work with artists and businesses. How do you get them comfortable what makes sense for artists? Because artists, probably rightly so, they don't want to be the used car salesman going out there. Hey, here's my microphone.
What's it going to take to get you into this car today?
What feels right and believable and authentic as far as an approach for artists? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Have you seen anything working there that you want to, you think you can talk about?
Absolutely. So the show we do is a podcast. We interview people, and it's not a product oriented necessarily show.
Okay.
And so, we may have someone on, that has written a book, or, and so we're having an interview all the time. We're talking. We have related products in our what's called a carousel, which is what shows up beneath your live stream. And, it could be the microphones we're speaking into. It could be the last 3 things the guest has bought on. So at any point in time, somebody may join the chat and say, "Hey, I have a question about da 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 da." Okay. We will weave that into the conversation. So it's
the primary focus is not the product. Like you're not pitching a product.
No,
like
no.
UBC.
Absolutely not. It's, we have shows where we'll do a show and we'll say how to put together a podcast, and we'll actually do demonstrations on that. But we don't, it's not QVC. It's not Home Shopping Network. Now, there are content creators that do that on the platform, and that's their choice. And I'm sure they're successful, but that's just not us. We're not salesy. We like to have fun. We like to, show some stuff that we do that is on brand. John, we started the show because this is what we do for a living in my business for Cast Ahead, and my partner, Jim Fuse, who's Fusion Marketing. This is the stuff we do for our business. And so we just showed up on Amazon and just said, we're going to do this show already because we do this already. So as a musician, to your question, John, there are musicians that go live on the platform and they perform. They actually perform. They'll just hook in their keyboards, whatever instruments, and they will sing. And then as people chat, they're chatting with them. I think a lot of people are already seeing that, like on Facebook. There's artists are going live on Facebook, or they're going live on YouTube and doing similar things. However, they're out there and they're doing that, but you can do what's called multi-streaming. So you can go live on Facebook, you can go live on YouTube, then you can also go live on Amazon at the same time. And so, that's really kind of the sweet spot where you can, if you're playing that guitar and that guitar is available on Amazon, or your pedals that you're using, like everything that you've got in front of you, and your music. And we should also talk about Amazon merch as well, and how we've turned that into something that has been fairly successful for us as well, with print on demand products that Amazon has. So when you go live and you're like, it's a show, you're doing your show, you can perform your music, you can talk with your fans, you can do all that. You're not like, okay, next up in the carousel, we have, the coffee cup from StreamYard. This is, that's not, for us, that's not, I mean, if you wanted to do that, you could, but I'm guessing most people don't feel really comfortable with that. They just feel more comfortable being themselves, staying on brand. I will tell you this, because I think a lot of people are curious. It's like, why should I, right? Why should I do
It's another channel to,
Right. It's just, why do I need to bolt on? And so I didn't know either. I mean, when Jim and I first went live on the platform, we had no idea. We had no idea how financially, viable it would be. And we had no idea that we would be heading up an entire day at PodFest and VidFest, which is we did a couple of weeks ago in Orlando. That was not on our radar at all. But as we started going through it and we started peeling this back, we're like, oh my gosh, there's this. You can create a shoppable video that lands on the product page, and all of those things create and generate more interest. So we went live on Prime Day. That was, we had gone live, and done interviews, but when we went live on Prime Day, John, the first hour, we went back and looked at our data, because you'll get data right after your show. We had over 10,000 views in the first hour. And I don't know about you, but I mean, when's the last time you had 100 views on Facebook on a live stream. It just doesn't happen unless you're massive. And of course we weren't massive. And so we said, wow, there was, I mean, in an hour, imagine if we had kept it going. So of course we scheduled more shows later that day, and I don't think ate the entire day, because we were just like, this is a massive opportunity. Now, most of those views come from being on product pages, and a lot of people were shopping that day. And so you're going to get a lot of drive-by views, okay? A lot of thumb-by views. But if you think about this, people do advertising. People are trying to, get known and get known. So if you could, at any one given time when you go live, get 10,000 people to pay attention to you, even for, a couple of seconds, you'd take it, right? Because how many of those 10,000 people are going to stick around if they hear a song they like, if they see a person they can identify with, and they happen to be talking about a product that they're interested in purchasing? You'd take it.
Right.
Absolutely. So it's a great way to build influence, brand awareness. And, if your brand is a songwriter, that is, I mean, it's an opportunity. It's a Wild West, and the pool is shallow, quite frankly.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it really, somehow we got accepted into the Amazon influencer program, and we're just, we're primarily on Shopify, some on Amazon's products on Amazon, do a lot of bundle selling, pre-release, pre-order type bundling.
Cool.
But the opportunity at Amazon, especially as we're talking about the Amazon influencer new rollout, if done well, could really, really compete with Facebook and YouTube as far as people ready to buy, people already on the platform. That's a huge, and I'm sure your numbers are right as far as 3,000 people on. That's nothing. That's not even day one. That's breakfast of day one.
That's right. That's right. And so, and you mentioned Facebook and YouTube. And so all of these platforms, they are, live selling, sort of, but there's all of these problems like supply chain, shipping, all of those things. Like if you're going through Facebook, is like, do you trust purchasing
integration?
People go to Facebook to complain about the president or whatever. Yeah. So it's like the destination is so important. And so even though there will be platforms launching on Facebook, and YouTube dabbled with it fourth quarter last year, they brought in some massive influencers. Not sure that was that successful. There's that supply chain issue, but Best Buy's coming, Target's coming, Costco's coming. These are places where, well, that's not on brand for me. Well, I mean, do you want your CDs in Target? Well, then maybe it is on brand for you.
Yeah. And it's on brand for the fan who's going to purchase with Amazon Pay, right? That's the person's there ready to buy.
That's right.
We just started Amazon Pay 6 months ago, which I guess for those of us who don't know, Amazon, everybody has their credit card on Amazon. So you can port that into your Shopify store. And instead of expecting somebody to pull out their credit cards again and put it in, it's just boom, Amazon Pay. It's like Facebook login. You don't have to pull out the credentials again. And the numbers are fantastic for people that are paying with Amazon Pay. It's just boom, click, done, ship.
Serve it up to people, and the more you can integrate yourself into that, the better it is. And again, you're in control of your brand, your show. I mean, Amazon has their guidelines. But what we found is those guidelines are a little blurry if you're making great content on their platform. And Jim and I, with Dealcasters, do a lot to evangelize for live selling, and specifically for Amazon. For that reason, is that, again, 3,000, less than 3,000 influencers, 20% are probably really leaning into it. And out of those 20%, how much of it is really great content?
Right.
Probably not that much. And so we're doing this because we want the influencers, your audience, those people that can make great content, and thrive from it from a visibility perspective, but financially as well. It can really, help sort of bridge those gaps that, streaming music and other, other things just haven't been able to be met, over the past few
Yeah.
years.
And that's something that we talk about a lot, is like artists are competing for free. They're competing for, vanity metrics that aren't tied to revenue. We like to compete for revenue. Big difference. Like I'm not interested in,
that's right,
in your TikTok views. I mean, sell a product, get
that's
somebody to take out their card and say, I want that. Get it to me.
Don't chase the numbers. Don't chase the numbers. Chase the checks.
Yeah,
that's 100%. And this is the way to do it. It's 100% the way to do it. There's not a you're not judged by subscribers. I mean, there's a sort of, you got to get approved with so many, but they make it low enough because they don't want Kevin Hart and Kim Kardashian and whatever to be their influencers. Those people have to pay or be paid in order to do that. They want people that have, lower, micro, nano, whatever prefix you want to use in front of influencers, because that's really how people are buying. Oh, looks like I lost you.
Hey, Chris. I don't know what happened there, but we can just rewind. We can rewind to the vanity metrics part.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, can you turn up any more? I still feel like I'm having to lean in to hear you.
How about now? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Yeah. Check.
That's weird.
1 2. I'm cranking it up here in Melon. I've got 153% on the mic volume. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just hot here. Yeah. Good. So yeah, let's back up to competing for free. So yeah, something, Chris, that we're seeing a lot is that so many artists make the fatal mistake of competing for free. They're going for the vanity metrics. They're going for TikTok views. And for us, where our head is we like to compete for revenue. We want to sell something. Our artists, they're connected to their fans in such a way that they want to experience them either from a new release or a product bundle or a plethora of ways that we monetize around them. How do you see this rolling out differently than just another vanity metric? Oh, I got 10,000 people who don't care about me.
Yeah. We're firm believers of not chasing numbers, but chasing the checks. And so what this allows you to do as someone who does not have a ton of subscribers or followers is to gain influence and be able to financially be where you, I mean, would you rather have 100,000 subscribers or $100,000? Easy answer.
100% of nothing is still nothing.
That's right. That's right. And it's hard, right? Because you're like, I'm putting out this stuff and I'm not getting anything back. I think this is a way to kind of help offset that thing. You can still continue to build your Instagram and build your TikTok and build that and do whatever. But this helps definitely assuage that whole thing, because you'll make some money while you sleep without selling out on your existing brand, because it's just, Amazon doesn't want, and these other platforms that are coming, they don't want massive influencers because they don't want to have to pay for them. And they've already seen that those were massive failures in the past. Right. People buy from people like us that say, when you walk around Costco and somebody is cooking something out of a toaster oven and you try a little pizza bite and you like it and you end up buying it, you don't remember who that person was that told you about it.
Yeah.
You just like the pizza bites.
And they let you experience it. They
100%.
gave you, there's that experience again of like, here's the beanie weenie or whatever it is. It's like, try the beanie weenie. Isn't it the greatest thing in the world?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and so this experience, I'm glad you brought up experience again. I forgot to kind of go here. So, I know we're talking about home shopping and QVC and all, but imagine you're able to do what you're doing, and then someone asks you a question that's related to products and it's related to your brand. For instance, one of the greatest things if I get 100 followers on Instagram or whatever, I guess it feels good, whatever. But nothing feels better than getting to the end of a show where you've worked out with different people and they bought a couple pairs of headphones because they weren't sure which would be more comfortable on their ears. They bought a podcast mic and they bought a Zoom H6 and they're starting their podcast the next day.
Right.
That's what feels awesome.
Right. You've already done the research and the work for them. And
yes,
because there's credibility and believability, they're like, okay, whatever he researched is damn well good enough for us. Send us the bundle.
And by the way, we take that. This is the other thing is like we use Amazon as a recording session. So when we're done, we pull down that video, we pull down that audio, we repurpose it into an audio podcast because we're doing an interview, but we also take that video and we chop it up and we spit it out into the machine, and it goes out and we schedule it. We have software that schedules it over all of that stuff. So it's not just the moment. It's not just the live stream. You're creating experiences for years. We still get feedback on podcasts we did 2 years ago where someone says, oh, that was I bought a Samson QTU mic from after watching this because they found it on Facebook from a post that we had scheduled 2 years ago. I mean, that's the kind of thing you talk about the future, right? But I think we're too caught up in this moment. I mean, think about what's ahead too. Like what's part of your legacy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're talking about, Chris, as far as our approach and how we think about it, that's like evergreen content. It's those seeds you leave out there that have the pre-order link or, order link in the SEO. And we get people purchasing products from, 2, 3, 5 years ago.
That's it.
Because those crumbs are left out there on YouTube, Facebook, wherever. I mean, it's an interesting, really powerful e-commerce approach that a lot of people, kind of miss. The evergreen approach.
A lot of people do because, it goes back to vanity metrics, going live, living in the moment. And I think what it does too, John, is it helps you be better in the moment when you realize this content's going to live beyond us.
Yes.
So after I die, and we all do, newsflash. What we're doing, this podcast will outlive us. Yeah. And I hope if someone's listening to it, that it impacts their life after I'm done. And that's why I take things like this very seriously. And I put work into this because this is more than just right now. This is, 2, 5, 10, 100 years from now. If you think like that, you do better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that, Chris. So you'd mentioned Amazon merch briefly a few minutes ago. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think I know what you're talking about there, but unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, it's merch.amazon.com. And so it's a print on demand merch service that is Amazon's. And so merch, there's other print on demands, whether it's Vistaprint or Printful or TeePublic. There's a lot of them. And, basically it's, you've got a logo, you've got some branding, you can design something on the web. And it's like, here's what I want my shirt to look like. Here are all the colors I want, sizes available, men's, women's, whatever, coffee mugs, all of that stuff. And
so this isn't the book print on demand version, which I think was called Lightning Source is who we use.
Correct. This is different.
This is
merchandise.
merch.
This is hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops,
Printful
bags.
type stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, and so the reason, there's 2 reasons why we did it. Number one, when we create that merch on on Amazon, we could put it in our product carousel when we go live. And so we sell t-shirts, we sell hoodies. We don't talk about them, but they're available. So if people like our show, we just kind of put that, as well as our audio podcast, which is available on Amazon Music. So we put that in and so we get followers and listeners from that. So it's another way to promote your stuff, your brand, whatever. The other reason why is because, John, you and I have been in bands, and, you print it. Once print on demand became a thing, I was like, oh God, now, it's like we have storage facilities full of medium-sized t-shirts no one ever bought at shows. Right. And so print on demand became this thing where we can just let it sit out there, and then just
you don't have to warehouse
your account. Yeah. You look at
no
your
fulfillment.
account, and you're like, and so even if I made like whatever the percentage was, I was all about it. But on Amazon, it is anywhere from 13 to 33%, which is double that you see on any of these other services. Now, I'm not sure why they even do that, and their stuff is cool. I mean, it's
13% to Amazon,
13% to you.
Okay.
So, like, if you've got a T-shirt that you want to sell for, $19.99, you're going to get 13% of it for just uploading a logo to it.
Yeah,
that's it. And for me, I was like, well, why not? That just, I can.
No warehousing, no manufacturing.
Nothing. And so the other thing that we do is that's how we, like a guest on our show or whatever, we'll just kind of like, we'll send out the form and just tell us what your shirt size is, and then we can just ship it to them. We don't have to worry about that. So we get a little bit of a discount there because, but again, we're not warehousing it, and the payment is minimal.
Yeah. I love it. So Chris, this goes all through Amazon as far as the recording, the interaction, the engagement. It's kind of like a Facebook Live, but living on Amazon. So it records it for you. You download it from Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah. So depending on your streaming software, if you want to use streaming software, which I would suggest, and there's a bunch of them, StreamYard, we're using Melon here today. There's a bunch of them that you could use. I would suggest doing that because it's you're going to get a nice clean show. Although you can go live directly from an iPhone or directly from an iPad. Again, you've got minimal things that you can do. So everything is run out of their creator app. And so what you have to do is do a thing that's called RTMP. Right. And that basically says, here's a link, or here's a stream key that says when you go live on Amazon, you can go live in your streaming software. Okay. And so, so when you go live, you show up, and if you were to go to amazon.com/live, you'd see everybody that's going live. And so when you go live, you're going live there. And then as you select products in your app and you start talking about them, then your live show shows up on the product pages.
Interesting. So how do you prepare for this? Because it's a little different than what we're doing here. We're talking about a theme, going deep on one theme, but what's new with the Amazon Influencer program is that it's tied to products. So what does that look like for you?
For us and a lot of other people on the platform, they just bolted Amazon onto their existing live stream strategy. So they're already going live on YouTube. They're already going live on Facebook. And they're like, okay, we're just going to add, as a multi-stream, we're going to add on Amazon. Okay. And they keep one eye on the Amazon chat while they're doing their show. And so as they're talking, they're just kind of clicking a product as they're going and keeping an eye on the chat. And maybe not necessarily highlighting a product, having it on hand, showcasing it. They might do that. Some get creative and maybe just kind of say, hey, here's what I got this week on Amazon, or here's I wanted to show you really quickly how I switch scenes to go from, showing my hands playing the guitar to this shot. I use a Stream Deck, and then, they can kind of do this and put the camera on it. And then, while they're talking about it, they can do that. But like I said, we don't get too hung up on making it necessarily a product show unless we're doing something where we're demoing things. If it's an interview, we are all in because we're We're focused on the guests, and we know that that's going to be content that we're going to be able to repurpose as audio and whatever. And, you know, like I said, we'll click on products throughout, but we're also live on LinkedIn. We're also live on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook, Twitter. And so as those comments are coming in, we're engaging with those people as well. One other thing I should make mention of that we use as a bit of a hack. This is hacking music. So
that's right.
This is hacking live streams. Here you go. Here's a little,
go for it.
Here's a little secret for your audience, John. We use redirects. And so our show, when it first was born on Amazon, was called Dealcasters Live. And so Amazon gives you a URL for your shop page and a URL for your live stream. And it looks like hieroglyphics. It's like Amazon.com / a bunch of, you can't read it.
Crazy. Yeah.
Nobody clicks on that stuff.
Right.
No one trusts links like that. They don't trust Bitly links, smart URLs. They don't trust any of that. But if it's your brand and a brand that you trust, you should go and buy a domain name, which, by the way, is like a cup of coffee for the first 2 years.
Right.
And so we went out and we bought dealcasters.live. And so what you do is you just buy that domain and then you redirect it to your show, which is an easy way to do right online. It's just another click and you say, okay, here's where I want people to go. So when you go to dealcasters.live, it takes you to our latest show. And then you can create subdomains underneath it. So John, if you were on Dealcasters, we could create john.dealcasters.live, which would redirect them right into Amazon to your show. So it does a couple of things. It does what we just said, which is people trust links like that. People are like, oh yeah, boom. But it also brings them into Amazon. And so one thing we didn't make mention of is, like, when you watch our show, when you click on our show to watch it, that's when the cookie goes live on that person's Amazon account for 24 hours. Okay. So if they click on john.dealcasters.live and they start watching our show, and you're talking about, the book Hacking Music, and it's in the carousel, and we're doing and they're like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not going to buy that today. But while I'm here, I'm going to get a battery charger and diapers and some flushable wipes. The next day, in your account will be commission for those 3 things.
Interesting.
Because they jumped into Amazon from your link.
Okay.
And that gives them a 24-hour cookie. So you get commission on any of that stuff. So that redirect is something that we use for trustworthy visual links, as well as a way to get people back onto the platform.
That's interesting, Chris. So if I understand it right, you don't want people going to your .com. You're just pushing them to your Amazon page.
We don't even have a dealcasters.com. We don't even use it.
The .live.
With .live. .live is yep. So if
it's a pass through. It's a dummy pass through, basically.
Yeah, it just says okay, they're going here, and we tell them where. So we're in control of where that is. If we want them to send it to anything, we could send it to anything underneath that domain.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Love it, Chris. So, as we're talking about this, Chris, in artists, and their DNA, how sometimes overly precious they can be. How do you onboard, and how do you get somebody excited about e-commerce? Because this is where revenue lives. Do you have any parting words to kind of, for people to think through as to begin that journey of, like, look, I'm not just a magical unicorn. I'm a business and I have products.
Yeah.
Which mean we need to sell them.
Yeah. Well, I would say, if your number one goal to live sell is to make money, this might not be for you. And I mean that in very honestly. When we started doing this thing, we didn't do it to make money, but you can. And so it's a gift for us. So we don't, it's not lost on us that, any of that stuff. And at any point in time, Amazon could snap their fingers and it all goes away. Right. But it's not, because it's been very successful and there's other things that are coming. I would say that chances are you're already live selling. If you were to really think about it, you're already live selling. And so you need to shift that mindset to where Video and selling is Home Shopping Network. Video and selling is QVC. It's not,
that's not what we're talking about.
No. And if you're burying a link for someone to click on to get your lighting and your camera and your audio interface and all the stuff that you use there, if you're burying it in the show notes of your YouTube video and praying that somebody clicks on a link and you're going to get 13 cents commission from it, you're in the wrong spot. I mean, you could have it there and you might as well park it there in terms of real estate. But when you are in the mall, that you're serving that person wanted to buy that stuff, and you get to do that and get more known and stay on brand and stay, relevant to what you want to accomplish. And then you look at your commission report after things get moving, the lights are coming on, and you're like, why did I take this long to do this? I should have gotten in when I was listening to John Pashada and Chris Stone wax about live selling on a podcast.
It's kind of like YouTube ad revenue. If that's your primary focus, ad revenue from day one. I mean, it's that's a long slog,
I mean, John, we talked to a ton of YouTubers. And all you got to do is just say, okay, how long did it take you to monetize, right? Whatever, how many watch hours, all of that stuff, how long did, and then, generally at whatever level, how much money are you making? It takes 90 minutes of live streaming on Amazon to start monetizing. 90 minutes of live streaming. Whereas it takes, 10,000 hours?
A zillion hours.
1,000. And then once you get there, you got to keep doing it. And then you have to chase those algorithms. And how many times you watch a YouTube video of someone and they're wanting the watch hours. So they're teasing you and teasing you and teasing you. And they're like, for crying out loud, I watched this video now for 12 minutes. Exactly. Yeah. Tell me why I'm here. On Amazon, you can get right to the point. You create shoppable content that lives on the page. You can tell somebody right away, this is why I use it. This is what it's good at. This is what it looks like. This is da-da-da-da-da. And that creates passive income for you.
Love it. Chris, this has been fantastic, man. Thank you so much.
I love to talk about this stuff, man.
Yeah, no. I think there's probably a follow-up episode we need to do, because I'm going, man, there's a whole question set about what we just talked about. So, Chris, thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
And what's the best way for people if they want to catch you and follow you online? Where do you want to send them?
Yeah, go to chrisstone.contact, and that'll get you to all my stuff. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, or all that stuff is in there. So it's chrisstone.contact.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know we covered a lot of different topics, but all of it is really wrapped around the idea of artists creating businesses and not just sitting around praying for someone to pick them and to give them $1 zillion. It's about putting themselves in the game and building a real platform under their art. So thank you again for being with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome, bud. Talk soon.
Yep.